if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna move,
move, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna move, move.
That's how I do it.
This is Ashley with True Magazine, and we're here with Mims. So, what have you been up to since your last album?
Since the last album I delivered was in March 2007, called Music Is My Savior. And I guess currently we're in 2009, so I guess for many people they think that that's been like I took a hiatus, and that's probably not the truth. The truth is that I've been working ever since then. I've been grinding. I've been blessed with the ability to have a really successful record that not only charted in the US as one of the #1 records, but also charted internationally. It was a huge success, so I kind of had to nurture my career internationally, make sure that I go over there and become more personable with the fans, especially because it's international market, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia or South America. It's something that a lot of American artists neglect, and their career kind of dwindles away over there, and I want to make sure that I keep a good international presence. So if I had to say what I was doing, the first year after the release of the album, I was touring internationally, and I took about a 3-4 month break from touring, and I got back in the studio and created this new album, Guilt, that I have coming out in April 7th, and it's been, if you added up the time that I've done that, and then now I'm on promo for the last 3 months, it kind of evens out to about 2 years. So, I'm working, still working, I'm still here.
All right. So what do you think people would say, those who say that This Is Why I'm Hot was your peak?
I think people, it depends on who says it. When it comes from someone who never had a hit record, you kind of got to say, look, man, what's your angle? And like I say in my song Move, you can call it one hit wonder, but I guess that makes me one up, and that's such a true statement, because most of anybody who's ever had to say anything negative about me is only because they would love to be in my shoes. And that's the only way I could look at it. Anybody else who's made a comment, and I've gotten comments from pretty much everybody, especially on the hip hop level, have been really respectful about certain things that they've said about me, and it's been very flattering that they could even mention my name in response to this whole hip hop is alive or dead theory. So I think that there's two different sides to that statement, but it's not my peak. I'm a musician. I make music. We can't imagine where any record we put out is going to end up, but we always want that #1 position, and I'm gonna chase it every time I put a record out.
So how do you think the last album was handled?
I don't live with regrets or anything like that. I think we did a great job. I started nurturing the project from an independent standpoint. I was an independent company called American King, which I'm partnered up with my partner Corey Llewellyn, and also my partner Eric Mendelsohn. And we took nothing, literally nothing, and turned it into something by getting out on the road, getting in those vans, those rental cars, and going from city to city, making sure that my music was the first thing and the last thing people heard. And then from there, I got picked up by a major. So, when you just look at what every independent artist is trying to do now, we've accomplished that and much more. And I don't think I think that's, to me, like I said, that's an accomplishment. And to have the major come in and put an album out, a debut album, which from a New York artist standpoint, you don't really see too many of those. And now I'm working on my sophomore, so that's the second album that I have before some people even able to put out one.
Right.
Okay.
So what can we expect from the second album?
Expectations for me, I look at this honestly as my first major label album. When I first created The Music Is My Savior, my last project, it was more or less on an independent level. I had the album finished before I stepped to the label, you know, pretty much ready to give it to them and let them go with it. This album I actually got to concentrate, sit down in the studio with a budget and really put together a dream team of producers and artists that I would want to work with, because there was no limitation on who I could get or who I wanted to work with.
Okay, so who are some of those producers you had?
I got on the album, obviously I kept it in the family. I got the Blackout movement, who did This Is Why I'm Hot. And they did about, last album they did about 12 or 13 records. They did so many records for me. So I had to go with them and keep them in the loop with the project. I also reached out to some new producers called The Interns, based out of Chicago. And you know, they got about 8 records on this album. They actually helped co-produce the album with me. And you know, that's something that I credit myself for, because I always give opportunity to the up-and-coming dudes, the dudes that's hungry, that's making their way into the game. And those dudes, you know, you definitely have to watch out for, because they're like monsters in the studio. And I work with Jim Johnson, the dude who did he did Lollipop for Lil Wayne. He also did Whatever You Like to T.I. So I worked with him in the studio. Came out with a banger called Rock and Roll. And you know, that's pretty much it. I mean, I got a new dude out of Atlanta called the Cali Fat, who, I mean, he's young, but he's one of the most talented producers I work with. And if you notice, like, I work with a lot of new talent. I feel like as my career grows, in order to establish myself as an MC, I want to make sure that I get a producer to come up with me, sort of like where you know, LES and Nas were, where Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre were. So, and that's like my angle. I want to make sure that as I grow, producers grow with me.
Right. Okay. So why did you name the album Guilt?
Guilt, definitely more than one reason. But I guess the main reason is just really judging my success for the last 2 years, judging where I've been and the things that I've been able to accomplish, and just my financial situation. I mean, you know, I've been very successful and I'm very financially stable. You know, that's what I like to call it. And when you look at, you know, where economy has gone, it's been the total opposite. You know what I'm saying? People have been losing homes. You know, people have been losing jobs. People have been losing money. And not only these people, some of my fans, but they're also some of my family and my friends. So, I mean, for me, I started really kind of realizing my role as a person and as a musician. And you know, sometimes when you sit here and you say, okay, I got 100,000 on my wrist, I got, you know, 50 on my neck, and I got a Lambo and all this other stuff. It's cool to an extent, but at some point you gotta stop. Some point you just gotta be like, okay, enough. Let's talk about the real issue that everybody else goes through and everybody else can relate to. You know, and there's nothing wrong with getting in a freestyle and hitting them with a couple of lines, but when it comes down to making an album, I believe that you should give the people, the public, the opportunity to love you and embrace you, and curtail your music to your fans.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing. So what was the energy different recording this time around?
Yeah, definitely. I put it like this. When I first did Music Is My Savior, I was the starving artist. You know, I was the dude trying to get in the game because I wanted to solidify myself and make a name for myself, as well as financially situate myself. Anybody who gets in the business of music and doesn't give those 3 answers, I think they're just BS, you know. And I think this time around my energy changed because I had fulfilled certain things, so I had other things to worry about. You know, I wasn't worried about the money. I wasn't worried about having a roof over my head or putting food in my stomach. I was more worried about making the music connect with the fans. And I don't discredit anybody coming in the game, but if you don't come in with a silver spoon in your mouth, you know, those are the things that you gotta live with, being a musician in the business of music. And because I don't have to, that's not my reality right now, I can concentrate a little bit more on the music, or a lot more on the music, and make sure that I deliver a successful album to my fans.
Okay.